We have a saying in English, which is, the enemy of the good is the perfect. Have you ever silenced yourself because you didn't know how to express yourself perfectly in English? Maybe you had a wonderful idea to share or suggestion to make, but you held yourself back because you didn't know how to say it in English 100% the same way that you would have said it in your first language. Doing so, holding back like that for fear of not saying it perfectly, is actually depriving the world of your amazing ideas. Essentially, by not sharing your thoughts, you're doing the world a great disservice. As I often like to remind you, perfect is not the goal. The goal is intelligibility. Are you able to communicate as effectively as possible? In this lesson, we're going to discuss a few communication strategies you can use when you might not know the exact words or expressions or phrases to express yourself, and what you can do in those types of situations. If you're ready, let's get into it. Keep in mind that sometimes we have to take a more circuitous approach when explaining something. So a non-linear approach. While this might not be the best when it comes to communicating in general, because it's much better to be as succinct and as concise as possible, that's the general rule of thumb in communication. In these types of specific situations, if you're unable to find the exact words, then this more roundabout explanation is absolutely fine. So don't worry about that. All right, so on to the strategies. The first one, simplify. Okay, so the first thing that you can do is keep it as simple as you can. We've actually got an acronym in English, which is KISS, and that stands for Keep It Simple, Silly. And so this is a good starting point. You don't need to use the word that you are looking for, even though you might have that on the tip of your tongue, or you might have it crystal clear in your native language, but it's not there for you to use right now. So that's okay. You can try to say it in simpler terms. Even though you're not able to find the exact word, try to rephrase it in this situation or come up with a simple explanation. So a good rule of thumb is that simple is best. So don't be tempted to complicate matters further by thinking that it'll be more impressive. It's not. Just try to explain the situation or the story in as simple terms as you can. 2, define. Though you might not have the exact word, you know its meaning, right? So you can define the term or the phrase using other words. And yes, while it might extend your explanation because you're forced to use more words to fill the gaps, it'll enable you to get your point across. And since you know the meaning of the word that you're searching for, because you know that meaning in your L1 in your head, you might also know other words that have similar meanings in English. And that brings me to my next point. 3, similarize. Familiarize. Okay, so find synonyms for the exact word that you're thinking of and try to find similar words or phrases in its place. This way, you can get your point across in a more compact way. A good way to start building up your synonym knowledge is to check a thesaurus every time you learn a new word. That way, you'll be prepared to pull out a similar word or phrase if need be. 4, contradict. Sometimes to explain what you want to, you might need to find the antonym, right? To say it in the opposite way of what you're meaning, of what is on your mind. So we'll use an antonym. So in this case, if you say the opposite of what is on your mind, then you might be able to get your point across this way. Keeping a list of antonyms in your vocabulary journals or Word documents is a great way to stay up to date on words with opposite meanings so that you have those in your back pocket for times like these. 5, generalize. If you're stuck trying to find the exact words, think bigger picture, think high level. If you can find a broader way of explaining something, do it. You don't need to go into much granular detail to convey a point. If the listeners want to know more, they'll follow up with questions and ask you some more details. But don't feel pressured right off the bat to be overly precise and exact and provide extensive details to your listeners. That's just not necessary. They themselves will assess if that information is important for them to understand the situation, and then they'll ask you to elaborate or expand on what you've just said. And that's totally fine. At any rate, you don't know what they'll latch onto and be interested in exploring further. So feel free to be as succinct as you can and as concise as you can, and then let the other person chime in and add their comments and ask their questions as well. All right, nice work. So we've covered the 5 ways of dealing with a situation where we cannot seem to put our finger on the word that we wanted and we can't find the exact word, right? So instead of holding back and preventing yourself from saying what you wanted to say and just remaining silent, you'll be able to use these strategies, these strategic communicative competence strategies to help you get your point across. And that is what matters, right? We want to be able to communicate. All right, advanced English learners, thank you so much for joining me for this lesson. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up if you're watching here on YouTube. And if you love our podcast, feel free to share it with your friends and family and anyone who's interested in improving their English language and communication skills. And you can leave us up to 5 stars. That really helps us out. And it gets the podcast out to more people. So that's always a nice thing. That way we can keep providing you with these high quality lessons and help you improve your English language and communication skills. And speaking of communication, we have a whole separate channel and podcast for that. If you want to ramp up your interview skills, your public speaking skills, your storytelling skills, your social interaction, and your social skills. So feel free to check that out. It's explearning.co. And you can just do a search for Explearning, EXP, Learning, and you'll find it there. We have hundreds of lessons, combined 500 lessons with Advanced English and Explearning. So there's a lot of content that you can rely on, you can use, you can, learn from, and our hope is to continue to provide you with this quality content. So definitely feel free to engage with the channel, engage with the podcast. Again, that lets us know that you're enjoying the content, and you can always send in your suggestions if there are specific communication questions you have or English language or culture questions you have, and we'll make a lesson about it or have a conversation about it, right? So we really enjoy having you in this community. You're awesome. Keep up the amazing work. You're doing really well. I am so proud of you. And definitely don't miss a beat here at Advanced English. All right. I will see you in the next Advanced English lesson where we're going to continue advancing your English together. Until then, keep up the awesome work, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye for now.